I don't really want to get rid of all religion.
No,
I just
but
think faith is a poisonous idea.
And when you say faith,
I mean, any belief that can't be corrected by further evidence.
See, okay.
I'm defining it in my terms. Are you going to define it?
No. I'm only going to celebrate what you said. I think when you talk about... I had Brian Greene, the astrophysicist, on this podcast.
You get all the cool kids.
I know. I was giggling.
And then me.
I was giggling and had chills the whole time. I loved it. And when he specifically, as you did in your beat poem, went on about how science will adapt and spin on its heels and carve into its own cock and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, that applied to, let's not even use the word spiritual, but the exploration of the mysterious, I suppose. And I'm not talking about psychics and ghosts.
No. I'm
talking about the hum, the feeling that I have that there's something going on behind what's going on. Quantum physics is also exploring that in another way. But that sort of thing of like, you know, I run into problems with some of my old friends where I go, this part of the Bible needs to go. And this part has some juice in it.
Yeah.
The idea of a man dying as a metaphor to his humanity and rising to his divinity through pain, there's juice in that for me. I think there's something to the story. When we have people clinging to it and going, God said it, I believe it, that does it, I'm completely with you. That sort of faith going, I don't care what the evidence says, I believe in, let's say, the power of prayer, one of your examples, then that needs to get out of the way.
It's just, I agree, and I personally think love thy neighbour, you know.
As you love yourself.
Golden rule's probably what you can get out of the Bible. The rest is, there's so much in the Bible. It's an incredible text, historical, literary text. It's an amazing collection of stories that we should have a look at, but we're so far beyond it, which isn't to say we're doing what Jesus said we should do, which we still should be doing, but it's not like that was the last time someone said something interesting about that. You know,
that is you've uncovered one of my passions as well, is Christ became a realized person, had incredible compassion, incredible empathy.
If he existed.
If he existed,
but
absolutely.
The story, the character of Christ.
The character of Christ.
What an amazing set of philosophies to be talking about that long ago. You know?
Ram Dass hypothesizes that when he was getting nailed to the cross, he was looking at the guy nailing him with compassion.
Yeah.
Like that's what we're talking about, a realized being. My problem with religion is that we've spent our time celebrating and worshiping and kind of talking about what a great job Jesus did in waking up instead of waking up ourselves.
My kids know more than Jesus did.
What do you mean?
My kids know more than Jesus did about everything, about the stars and the planets and what humans are, about genes and compassion, and some of it is received through that Judeo philosophy from back then, but it's all received from all sorts of places, and Shakespeare said a lot more interesting things than Jesus ever did, obviously. I mean, it goes without saying. Kurt Vonnegut said so much more interesting stuff than Jesus did, as did Douglas Adams and Richard Dawkins, you know, because we've received all that and now we've moved on. We're much, much, much more educated. It doesn't mean we're doing it right.
Right.
But that text, if I believe, and this will get me in trouble, that if the Bible disappeared tomorrow and we never read it again, but everything else remained, it wouldn't matter. It's all there.
Well, the reason I think potentially to go with you, it wouldn't matter is because the story keeps getting told over and over because it's the human story.
Because it's the human story. There's nothing unique in Christianity. And, you know, I disagree about we don't disagree. It's just a slightly different lens on the same thing. The crucifixion is yet another sacrifice. The idea that someone needs to bleed for us to be happy.
But that's what it got turned into.
Yeah.
I really think
the
that's
idea
what
of
it
someone
got turned
dying
into.
for your sins, I find.
Jesus never said, "I'm dying for your sins," though. That was Paul. It was later.
I know, but Jesus never said anything.
Were you raised religious? Is that why you know all this stuff?
It's all Saul of Tarsus through the lens of the Emperor Constantine. I mean, it's bullshit. Nothing Jesus said would be anything like what we read. I mean, even if he existed,
absolutely.
Do you think what we're reading, I mean, how much later was Saul?
That's what I'm saying. And how much later were the Gospels written and all that stuff?
What's the meeting with Constantine? That meeting where they decided what was true and what wasn't?
Narcissa.
Something.
What is it?
That's terrible.
Council of Nicaea.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy that we think
absolutely
that it's received from...
But
it doesn't mean it's all bad.
What I'm saying is, when I was a child, I used to wish that there were reporters with cameras and tape recorders around Jesus. And now I think, why and ruin
God.
it?
Yeah.
Like it's a story. It's
Yeah.
a story. It's a story. Because you saying your children know more than Christ or Jesus, to me I'm like, okay, in their minds.
Yeah.
And this is where we might differ, but I'm talking about like in your heart. You can't break out of a prison that's made of thought with more thought. And I'm talking about realized beings that are stepping outside of their rational minds and their egos and seeing something
I don't know
through a
if
different
there's
way.
ever been any, I mean, there's all this stuff about spirituality. I don't know. They don't.
You had glimpses of it,
all those
though.
meditative people. I don't think the Dalai Lama no. Let's not bring up individuals, but I don't think there's been more insights from so-called spiritual or realized beings in the last 2,000 years than there have been by totally materialistic scientists' brains. In fact, quite the opposite. I think all the wisdom of the last 200 years has come from materialists. That's a crazy claim, but most
I know
of
what
it,
you're saying. I hear what you're saying.
The people that you read, that the Carl Sagans and the Douglas Adamses and Vonnegut and Voltaire and that you go back and all the people who said their most interesting liberal, forward-thinking, progressive, pro-everyone things, none of them had. None of them. They're just like, we are going to die and we should be good while we're on the earth. I mean, it's all. We're going to die soon. You just turned up to this party. My shitty allegory is you find yourself in a party. You don't know how you got there. You're surrounded by people, and the doors are locked till midnight. What do? Do you trash the joint? Do you try and get all the booze? Do you, sexually assault people? Do you, or do you just try and make sure the party's fantastic and everyone has a nice time because you're going to leave at midnight? Like, it's so simple.
Yeah.
And you don't need to feel like you're humming. You don't need to misuse terms like energy and vibration and all this stuff, which are actually terms made by physicists who don't believe in that.
Right.
People talk about quantum. The quantum world is, it's an indication that there's lots of stuff we don't know, and there's stuff going on that we don't understand. Yes, it's incredible, and I don't understand it. It's incredible. Isn't the world an incredible space, an incredible place? But no quantum physicists are Buddhists. I mean, statistically, none of them. They're all materialists.
Yeah.
Why aren't the quantum physicists talking about spirituality? And why do we need to talk about spirituality? And what does that word mean? And when we say our heart, the heart's a pump, so we don't mean our heart. When we say our soul, I don't need a soul to feel. I don't feel the need for the thing called the soul because I can't identify it. I feel like I should discard it because I love my children so much it makes me want to weep, and I feel empathy for people so much it makes me want to weep, and I want everyone to smile, and I love music and art and the ocean and sunsets. And why I say man-made myths and monsters in my poem, I want to know what, and I genuinely want to know, or maybe it's hypothetical, rhetorical. Why do we need these words that have no earthly anchor like spirit? Why do we need them? What's wrong? Isn't this enough? What's wrong with me and you being flesh sacks, feedy flesh sacks that happen to have to become conscious and be able to observe the world